And they were on his back all the time, all the time. Nip, 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 nip. I mean, every town he goes to, they follow him. And as soon as he leaves the town, they are there poisoning the water and stirring up trouble, undermining Paul's credibility. Do you know why they're doing that? Do you know why they were doing this? Their strategy is really very simple. It's the devil's strategy, has been for thousands of years. If they could undermine the credibility of the man, Paul, they can easily undermine the credibility of the gospel that he is preaching. That's just a simple strategy. If they could turn people against Paul personally, they can turn them against Paul's teaching and the preaching of the gospel. And it happened here. Sure enough, Paul sent a word to the Corinthians that he is going to visit them twice. He's going to come and visit them, then go to Macedonia, then come back and visit them again. But due to circumstances totally out of his control, he changed his plan. He's changed his schedule. He's going to visit them once. He didn't cancel the trip. He just postponed it. And these miserable people, I mean, just think about it. Just a simple, how many times have you changed schedule? How many times have you changed things when you couldn't, go and make a promise, just say, I'll be there, and then you couldn't. Things happen, right? And you take it for granted. No. These miserable people jumped all over the Apostle Paul. I mean, man, they said, you see what we told you about Paul? He is fickle. He does not care about you. He is taking you for granted. He is not honest. He has his own agenda. Paul is vacillating. Paul says one thing and does another. Paul speaks with both sides of his mouth. Paul is a liar. Just because he changed his schedule. And that's really what they're after. That's what they're going after here. That's really the core of their criticism. Because if they convince people that Paul was lying about his visit and about his schedule, he is lying about the gospel. If they can convince them that Paul is a man who makes his decisions to suit his selfish interest, then they can undermine the sufficiency of Christ, which is the very core of the preaching of Paul for salvation, the sufficiency of Christ for salvation. And right at that point, they move for the kill. And they say, because Paul is not trustworthy in changing of his schedule, therefore he is not trustworthy of what he preaches. That's what they're after. That's the bottom line. They did not like Paul's strong stance for the truth of the gospel. They hated the fact that Paul was uncompromising regarding the centrality of Christ. They hated Paul's adamance that it is Christ alone, that it is faith alone, that it is grace alone that'll get you to heaven. They hated that. And so you can see it. Look with me, please, verses 16 and 17 of 2 Corinthians chapter 1. Chapter 1, 2 Corinthians 16 and 17. Paul takes a couple of seconds to explain that the change in his plans does not mean that he has a divided heart. It does not mean that he's vacillating. It does not mean that he's a deceiver at all. But then verse 18 goes on very quickly. He goes for the jugular. He knew what they're after, and he goes straight after it. And he goes on to confront them. And he knew that it is not Paul that they're after, but it is the gospel that they want to undermine. So look at the verse 18. But surely as God is faithful, our message to you is not yes and no, but for the Son of God, Jesus Christ, who was preached among you by me, Silas, and Timothy, was not yes and no, but in him always has been yes. You know, The people who hate the gospel of Jesus Christ, who hate the moral absolutes, who hate the Christian morality, who hate biblical morality, they never come out and say, we hate Christianity, we hate Christ, we hate everything that's in the Bible. You never hear them say that. You know what they say? These Christians, well, they are just narrow-minded. They are bigots. They are out of the mainstream. They're just wanting to control society. Nothing changed, has it? No. Unfortunately, sometimes we, the Christians, get suckered into their criticism, and either we keep on defending ourselves, making ourselves to be the object, which we're not, or just go away and hide somewhere and cease to take a stand. Who wants to be called a bigot? My goodness gracious, that is the greatest sin of modern time, isn't it? You can be an adulterer, a fornicator, and a homosexual, and all kinds of sins the Bible talks about, but that's not a sin. Oh, but not being politically correct, that is a sin. That's a sin. You see, undermining the believers in order to undermine the gospel. It's not the gospel, it's not the believers they're really after, it's the gospel, the truth of the Bible that they're after.
Dr. Youssef would like to provide you with a copy of his daily devotional, The Daily Way, as a token of his appreciation for your faithfulness to the monthly fellowship program. The Daily Way is filled with 365 daily Bible readings and devotional thoughts, designed to make God's Word a part of your daily Christian walk. Topics include marriage, family, prayer, the teachings of Jesus, and many others.
Reading the Daily Way has given me peace and comfort, and just really helped me to not feel so stressed out and overwhelmed, and really helps me to just connect with God and understand Him and just enjoy being in His presence.
To receive your complimentary copy of The Daily Way, contact us today and register online as a monthly fellowship partner. Thank you in advance for your partnership and support of Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef.
Paul's second secret for positive living was that he did not spend a whole lot of time defending himself. He did not get suckered into making himself to be the object. He did not care so much what they thought of him. Although he did give an explanation, although he explained himself, although he took time to tell them the truth. But he quickly moves to talk about Christ, as if to say to them, whatever you say about me, which is untrue to begin with, but let me tell you this. In Jesus, all of the promises of God have been fulfilled. In Jesus, all of the blessings of God have been given. In Jesus, only salvation is found. In Jesus, only joy and peace are possible. In Jesus, and only in Jesus, and not in accommodating to the power of culture, is the true power, strength, and glory. That's what he's saying.